Hey, good morning. And today you join me by the sea. So it's Friday morning in October, and I'm in Cartographer, which is where I live on the north coast of Wales, and I'm just in the process of rigging up my little 14-foot sailing dinghy with a little 4-day adventure plan to try and sail around the coast of Anglesey, starting and finishing from home, which is, I think, if you did it in a nice sort of perfect circle, it'd be about 150 kilometres. I'm in an open boat. It'll probably be a bit further than that because I'm going to end up doing some wiggling, which is what sailing boats do, and some cruising around the shoreline. And who knows whether it'll work or not. Cool, so we're on our way. Happy days. Got a nice breeze, southwesterly breeze. I've got a reef in my mainsail because it's reasonably strong and I'm on my own and well loaded up, so I'm taking it steady, but we're still doing about 10k an hour at the moment, so moving nicely. Days like this we'll be laughing. So obviously the plan is to try and sail all the way around Anglesey, which big yachts do all the time. And I even know people that have kayaked it. But for me, on a little open sailing dinghy, then I've got a few challenges which mainly revolve around wind and tide and getting them to match up in my favour. My plan is to set sail through the Puffin Sound, which is the gap between Puffin Island and then the southeast tip of Anglesey, and then head up this coastline, the east coastline of Anglesey. So if you've seen any of my other YouTube films, you'll know I do like a good drone shot. And that was about to give me my first issue of the trip.
Battery level is low. Aircraft will return to the home point in 10 seconds.
Well, here we are, coming through the Puffin Sound. It got a little bit bumpy, but it has calmed down, just as I was hoping. There's the lighthouse behind me. And I did have some spectacular drone shots, but I've now added that drone to the list of many other drones that I've lost in the line of duty. Because unfortunately, as it was coming into land, I clipped the sail and it ended up in the sea. It did look good though, you have to take my word for it. But what a beautiful place to be in. It just marks the start really of my sort of joining the Anglesey coastline and heading up that east coast of Anglesey. With Anglesey itself, what tends to happen is as the tide floods, or we might think of that as the tide coming in, it moves in a clockwise direction. And then as the tide goes out again, or the tide ebbs, it moves in an anti-clockwise direction. And I want to jump onto that conveyor belt of the tide ebbing to carry me up that coastline. And I also want to make sure that I've got the wind onto the side or to the back of my dinghy, because I can't sail directly into the wind.
I'm only hoping it might be a bit flatter and calmer than this. Bounce around.
I've got a small motor on the back of my boat, but it wouldn't be powerful enough to motor against the tides, and it's not a pleasant experience motoring compared to sailing. Sailing is quicker, obviously way more efficient, doesn't use any fuel, and sailing is much more comfortable because the boat is much better balanced. So my motor is kind of for emergencies or for times when there's absolutely no wind and I just need to make a little bit of progress. So on my first day, my timings revolve around jumping onto the conveyor belt, if you like, of the spring tide on the ebb, using that to carry me up the coast. And I've got a southwesterly to a westerly wind. So the one bit that I struggle with is crossing Red Wharf Bay because I'm straight nose into the wind. So at this point here, I end up using a little bit of motor. And then the next thing that I'm worried about, or perhaps the first thing I'm worried about on this journey, is my transit around Point Lynas. So Point Lynas is known for having rough seas, and it's marked as having overfalls on the chart. Where that water passes around the headland, it moves quite quickly and it can build standing waves.
It's better. I've crossed the mouth of Red Wharf Bay. But we're now just offshore of Benthleck and heading sort of more of a northwesterly direction, so the wind's nicer now for us. We're on a bit of a broad reach, beam reach, and heading up this east coastline. That's all of the commercial shipping that's at anchor, going to or from Liverpool docks. And this is all a bit more pleasant and a bit more peaceful. So doing well. It's 2:15. We've done 21 kilometres. We should be heading into the nicer part of the day. The mountains are in sunshine, we're in cloud here, which is unusual, normally the other way around. But hopefully this cloud will start to burn off as the afternoon goes on. It'd be nice to feel some sunshine because it is cold. I'd hood up and gloves on for a bit. It's 3 o'clock, we've done 28.5k, so that's Point Lynas ahead, which is known for its overfalls, known for its rough seas, so if we can get round there, I'll be happy. Tacking my way up around Point Lynas into the wind. Thankfully I've got the tide with me. Thought I'd make the most of the stillness and have a cup of tea before I enter the less still world. Last tea in the flask as well.
So I'm approaching Point Lynas with some nerves, with some caution, creeping forward to see what the standing waves look like. And from my little boat, they don't look too bad.
Destiny and me with only this between us. A vagabond forever runs.
I could see there was a bit of a wave, a bit of moving water, but I'd read in the kayaking guidebook that you could squeeze between the gap and you'd often get an eddy between the end of the headland and the start of the standing waves. So as I approached Point Lynas under sail, I thought, as I go round the corner, I'm expecting that wind to change direction and be bang on the nose of my dinghy, which will mean I won't be able to sail forward anymore. I recognise that I'm going to need to be able to steer, and if I haven't got wind in the sails, I can't steer. So I decided to drop my sails, turn my motor on and just sort of creep around and have a look at how big those waves are.
I'll be a better man. Take a light around. Wear my heart on my sleeve. I'll be a greater man for the fables. Give my soul to the sea. Sail for open water. Any fool can pull me under, knowing this will make me strong. Pray for the whaler's daughter. Sing songs of us wind before us. Bring peace to the whale song.
frightening.
So I definitely made a mistake there. What I should have done is just pulled in at the side. There was actually somewhere I could have tied the boat up. I could have then walked along the shore, had a look, made an assessment, and then decided when to commit to it. And that would have given me time just to wait out the tide a bit as well, probably another hour or so, and the tide would have slackened off. But I made the mistake of deciding I'd go up and have a look, and then getting sucked into them far quicker than I'd anticipated. And of course then you're fully committed without really having a plan B or a backup if the engine fails. I came back into the calmer waters, and then I had to push out from Point Lynas and give it a bit of a wider berth, still under engine, so that I had some steerage and a bit more control.
Sail away. Sail away.
Whoa, that was quite exciting. I've sailed that before in calm seas, and it's a very different proposition. Probably won't look anything on the camera, but that was quite spicy. Happy days.
Only I could see where this crow lands. There's no hidden treasure.
So I pulled into Porthwen, which was just ever so fractionally earlier than I was hoping to stop. I still had another hour of tide in my favour, but the swell that I'd experienced all day meant I was feeling a bit green, a bit of a nervous wreck from my experience around Point Lynas as well. So I treated myself to stopping perhaps an hour earlier than I'd planned. My second day, my timings revolve completely around the overfalls that I'm expecting and the fast currents that I'm expecting. So there's overfalls marked on the chart in a couple of different places on the approach to the Skerries and around Carmel Head, and then the notorious stacks, North Stack and South Stack, and then again around Abraham's Bosom and Penryn Mawr. So in a perfect world, I want to time my arrival at each of these pinch points so that I arrive at slack water. And I've worked out my timings, and I know I need to leave about 11 o'clock in the morning. But I was up at 7:30, ready to go by about 9:30, running out of patience and thinking, right, okay, well, why don't I just crack on and get this first section done to Chemise Bay and put some time in the bank. Of course, the tide had other ideas, and I ended up just having to use the motor just to stand still, really. Probably burnt an hour's worth of fuel for no progress at all. So I pulled into Chemise Bay, stopped and had a cup of tea and a bacon bat. Just let the tide slacken off a little bit. And then left on the sort of time that I should have left at Porthwen before. So by now the tide was on the last of the flood, so it had slackened off and I had wind in my sails, so I was moving quite nicely. That's nicer under sail. And it's light winds, but it's actually still bang on the speed that we would do on the engine, so it's much more pleasant to be under sail than on the engine. The downside with having a journey to do is you're always trying to get to the next location in time for the tides. That's the downside with having a destination. The alternative being just to go for a sail and see where you end up. You've always got a temptation to just push on. So I always think as long as I'm sailing at engine speed or faster, I'll use the sails, and then if I'm dropping below that for any length of time, I'll use the engine. But it's sod's law. As soon as you drop the sails and switch the engine on, the wind picks up again, so you have to have a bit of patience. It is hard when you're working those tides. Right, keep my eye on the next ferry now, because I'm right across the entrance to the port of Holyhead.
I was surprised just how long it took me to get across Holyhead Bay. And of course it's quite a long way out from shore, so you haven't got any reference point at that stage. And of course I'm keen to get to the stacks on slack water.
Sitting down, wasted time. I've got a lot on my mind. So come on, wonder, can you smell the thunder? Can you hear a young dove cry?
Light wind sailing as we approach the stacks, but with the conveyor belt of the spring tide behind me, so I'm still doing 8 kilometres an hour. Just a beautiful, beautiful beam reach. Even the sun's starting to come out. Really nice. Yesterday was pretty stressful at times. And I did at times think, what the hell am I doing? But moments like this make it all worthwhile.
Hey, nostalgia, wake up now. Sleeping on the sofa, dreaming on lost in time. I'm waiting on a moment.
North Stack, Wenzorn, Cream of White Horses.
As I approached the stacks, I was really pleased. I timed it bang on, and I was able to pass those under sail, which was a real highlight and a real ambition, something I'd wanted to do ever since I'd planned this route, really.
You know, I always wanted more. Those RCA records, life on Mars, lie dusty on my floor.
Oh, I can see people in the cafe. I don't mind the cafe now.
Sleeping on the sofa, dreaming on lost inside. I'm waiting on a moment. Maybe you should slow down. Wish on every star could only bring my heart.
Incredibly good fortune. The wind's shifted to an easterly, so it's offshore, which is on the side of the boat, on the beam of the boat, so it's one of the smoothest points of sail. Obviously flat calm, beautiful, really nice. Good timing for me. Speed over the ground is about 10 kilometres an hour, which is partly due to the spring tide current I'm on, partly due to that lovely breeze, which has just faded as I'm talking. But I'm feeling sort of a sense of relief because I was, yesterday's crux was Point Lynas, which I'd sailed before and had an easy time of it, and I think that lulled me into a false sense of security. So yesterday it was all a bit frightening and some good learning points for me there. And then today I had the Swellies, the ferry lanes, North Stack and South Stack. And then I'm just coming up now to Abraham's Bosom, which they're all sort of famous tide races in their own right. And so the whole day's revolved around hitting those at slack tide, or as near to it as possible. You can't get wrong at slack tide. It sort of kept me awake a bit last night. So it's lovely to be
cruising along, coming around Abraham's now, I'm thinking, okay, the hard bit behind me. So it's lovely to be cruising along knowing that really the bits that I was most worried about are behind me. I haven't sailed from Idokay Bay down to the Straits, but the guidebook suggests that's just nice sailing. I'm looking forward to that. Big tomorrow. I'll see how far I get tonight. I might do some of that tonight. And then I've sailed the Straits a couple of times, and as long as you get the timings right on that, it's just a pleasant river, really. So a nice feeling to think, okay, maybe that's the crux of it. All I need now is enough wind to actually make it all the way home. I certainly haven't got enough fuel. Couldn't afford it. Bliss. Coming down this west coast of Anglesey was just a dream. The wind switched. It couldn't have been kinder to me. It switched to an easterly or a northeasterly. It was just coming across the side of my boat, which is the nicest point of sailing, and I was able to make a really nice sail all the way down this coastline with the tide in my favour all the way down. And in my planning stage, I thought if I could get to Idokay Bay or to Roscollin on this second day, I'd be over the moon. Idokay Bay on the left, the jet skis heading into the house on the skyline. And cruising along at about 8.5 kilometres an hour. So most chilled out sailing in the world ever. Gorgeous. I've got about 3 hours of daylight left, so I think I'm just going to keep going. The tide's in my favour the whole of that time, so just let's see where I end up. Champagne sailing now, this is bliss. Doing 12k an hour. Absolutely beautiful, steady breeze, black calm sea. And I've gone, that's Roscollin, I've just gone past, so I'm looking out over RAF Valley in Menai. Been on the magic carpet, beautiful. Bit more of this, please. Sunset was about 6:30, and I could see that I could make it down to Ddwyn for about 7, so the last half an hour of the day would be in the dark, but it would be dusky rather than dark, so I'd still be able to see. Squeezing out every last bit of daylight. About half an hour left before the sun goes down, and I'm just heading for Ddwyn Island, which is just off Newborough Beach. I should get there just as the sun goes down, I think. Getting cold now. Inbound Ddwyn Island. It's quite a big day. About 8.5 hours of sailing. About 60 kilometres. A little bit more, I think, by the time we get in. But what a day. Just some magical sailing. Absolutely fantastic. Really pretty. And like even now, it's nearly 6:30. Sun's just about set. Still cruising along 10-12 kilometres an hour, something like that. Beautiful steady wind, flat calm sea. Just sailed all down this coastline from South Stack down to Ddwyn Island on a single reach. Been absolutely gorgeous, really nice. Heck of a day. So I came into Ddwyn, and then again another little ambition. I was able to leave my boat anchored in Pilot Cove with some grown-up yachts, so I felt like a proper sailor at that stage. And then spent the night camping on Ddwyn Island. Again, a really nice night's sleep, but quite a long night. So day, almost sort of 12 hours of darkness at this time of year. So it felt like quite a long night. And it was still overcast, so there was no starlight photography to be had. The next morning, my cruxes were going to be getting through the Carnarvon Bar and then getting through the Swellies. So I timed my departure, so I was leaving just before sunrise so that I could be going through the Carnarvon Bar and Menai Point with the low tide slack water. And that all worked really nicely. Again, the wind was hugely in my favour. I had a really nice easterly wind filling my sails, allowing me to sail all the way up to Port de Norwich or Vellenhelly.
This is somewhere new to me. Sailing up the into the Menai Strait over the Carnarvon Bar. I'm heading to Upper Menai Point, which I haven't been to before. Timed it so we're on low tide slack, and we should just be able to catch the tide as it starts taking us up the strait. But it's cold again. It was, they keep promising me sunshine every morning, but haven't had it yet. Anyway, lucky luck. Should get home today. Day 3. Home to home. Tacking my way out of the Carnarvon Bar. It's quite a narrow pinch point. So I'm just approaching the Narrows now at Menai Point, so after this point we're in the Menai Straits. Which is, I say, a first for me, quite exciting. And I've been incredibly lucky with the wind. It's not what they forecast, but it's exactly what I needed. So very, very lucky indeed. More champagne sailing. As you can see, it is absolutely beautiful. Apart from the weather, it's overcast. It looks like it's sunny over Holyhead, so fingers crossed. Going past Carnarvon. It's like being in a mill pond. Look. Incredibly calm, incredibly beautiful. Doing about between 8 and 10 kilometres an hour over the ground. Really nice steady wind and the current in my favour as well. I'm going to be running early for going through the Swellies, so I'm going to pull in maybe Vellenhelly and have a cup of tea, wait for the tide. Delightful. Backing my way up the Straits now.
nice breeze. Current with me, just stopped for a really nice breakfast. I recommend the sail off cafe in Vellenhelly. I didn't realise how hungry I was until I started eating. Being overtaken by a motor cruiser. And then once the times were about right, I entered the Swellies, which is another of those areas where you get incredibly fast tides, lots of moving water, and if you got that at the wrong time in a little dinghy like mine, that'd be really serious. But for me, it was very pleasant. I was moved along there on the expressway, had my motor running so that I could have a bit of steerage. It was just too narrow to be sailing, plus I had a headwind on it, so I'd have needed to be tacking, so I'd have needed sea room, and there were lots of boats about. That took me then up to Beaumaris, and by the time I got to Beaumaris, the tide had turned against me, so I was now moving against the tide. And unfortunately, the wind for the first time in the trip really went against me as well. So I now had a northeasterly wind coming just the direction I wanted to head. So I switched my engine off, and then I had to tack or beat against the wind all the way over a fairly choppy sea and back to home again. Tacking against a bit of a northeasterly. Home is in sight, sun's come out. Really there. Happy days. Oh, lovely. The village sailing club were out, so they were all out, and sadly for me, my memory card ran out just as I was approaching home, so I haven't got any footage of arriving home. You'll have to just take my word for it. But it was lovely to see friends, and they were able to help me haul the boat up the slipway as well, which was even better still, because I was pretty tired by then, and pretty glad to be home and back on dry land. Just coming into home, really choppy, wind's picked up. I'm on the outskirts of the village, but I had to stop and put a reef in. I nearly couldn't be bothered. But yeah, I'm pretty tired. But yes, that's a lot more comfortable now. Not crashing over the waves quite as badly. Oh, be glad to get to dry land now. Tired out, but happy. Happy tired. Oh, lovely. Woohoo!